When you first starting to learn coding or programming, it can be pretty difficult. You'll find yourself staring at error messages that you don't quite understand, copying code from a course or a tutorial, paste it into your code editor, and for some reason it still doesn't work. And typically you usually ask yourself at that point, man, look, am I even cut out to do this? Am I wasting my time? But here's the truth. Coding feels harder than it actually is. And in this video, I'm going to break down why it feels that way, what's really going on in your brain, and how to push through those moments so that it actually finally clicks so that you can become the developer that you ultimately sought out to become. So first off, why does coding feel harder than it actually really is? The number one thing is it's brand new. You're literally learning a new language, something brand new that you may not be familiar with at all. A new way of thinking, a new way of tools to use, and just something that you may not have been introduced to, the concept of teaching something else how to do something that you wanted to do. That could be foreign to some people. It's kind of like landing in a foreign country where the signs, the rules, and the alphabet, everything seems unfamiliar. Heck, even the side of the road that you drive on can be different. These are the reasons that learning the code can be challenging for someone that's brand new to this space. The second reason is you typically only see finished products online. You'll watch a tutorial or see what someone else built, and it seems as if it's just very fluid. They begin to type a line of code and it works. But the truth of the matter is that you don't see the hours and hours that someone put in behind the scene, the error messages they had to work through, the bugs, researching different technology, changes that just happened moments or days prior in order for you to get that finished product. You see what they've created online or the tutorial or the course and thinking that, hey, I should be able to build straight through the same way they did. But the reality is, whenever you're building something, that's typically not how it goes. For every hour someone instructs or shows something online, a web application, a full stack project, there's typically another hour that's been put into that, if not more, in order to get to that finished product. The third reason is that your brain hasn't built mental shortcuts just yet. So experienced developers don't magically know everything. They've just seen similar problems and patterns throughout the years, and they kind of recognize what needs to be done in different instances. At the start, every single bug is going to feel like it's a brand new monster that you just haven't tackled before. And you got to be willing to kind of work through that, dissect it piece by piece in order to get to the resolution that you're looking for. So although you haven't really seen the patterns previously, your brain isn't necessarily built to kind of handle shortcuts. So you have to take the long step or the distant journey, if you will, in order to resolve the issue so that you could become more familiar with those patterns and how to work through them as they come up. Now, here's the reality. Coding isn't actually as hard as it may feel. It's not so much about memorizing syntax and everything that you come across, or necessarily being a genius, because again, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room to learn the code. It's more so about problem solving and your ability to take a large issue and dissect it into smaller steps. Think of it like building with Legos, if you will. At first, you're going to dump thousands of pieces everywhere, and it's going to feel like, oh my goodness, this is going to take forever because there are pieces everywhere. I don't know what exactly they are for, but hey, I'm going to figure it out. And if you follow the instructions piece by piece, you'll eventually build something that's pretty cool and something that you'll be proud of. Well, in the coding space, it is the exact same way. You're basically going to take it one piece at a time, one step at a time, one variable, one function, one resolution at a time. And as long as you break it down into smaller steps and take that 1,000 piece puzzle, if you will, and condense it into maybe 10-minute increments, you'll find yourself with more progression, and you typically enjoy that experience a lot more as you're building the Legos and putting them together. It's the same thing with the code space. So the kicker is this: what you may not realize is that those junior and senior developers, they don't actually write perfect code either. They're going to use Google pretty constantly, various forms in order to kind of help them get through sticking points. AI is something that's big to use in the coding development space now. So there are different ways that they're going to, and different tools they're going to leverage in order to help them build ultimately what they're trying to get done. They're going to experiment, they're going to break things, and they're going to put it back together. But the difference is they're okay with that struggle or that learning process, because they know that, hey, because I'm struggling, this isn't a sign of me failing, this is a sign of me learning, and I just have to push through this, because if I do, I know that I'm going to have a resolution and a finished product at the end. So, how do we make coding feel less impossible and feel like something that you actually can do? So, first, you've got to stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. Everyone has their own journey, and we all find someone that we admire in this space. But you've got to remember that they may be 10, 20 moves ahead of you because of the amount of hours and experience that they have with it. So you can't necessarily compare yourself to them. You've got to compare yourself to where you were previously and understand if you're making progress, and realize that, hey, I can't do what they're doing. I've got to do what works for me. Second, you've got to break down problems into smaller steps. Instead of trying to build the entire app and thinking about the entire application at once, focus on the smallest step first. Let's focus on getting this button to display a message every time we click it. So we know we'll need an event listener. We know that we'll need some form of message to be displayed on screen. Or let's focus on establishing this database connection, making sure that we can get data from the database first before we worry about mutating data and adding data to the database. Making sure you break things down into smaller steps first so that it doesn't seem so overwhelming trying to build a full project all at once. Next, you've got to be willing to embrace bugs. Look, there's no way around it. Bugs are your best friend. They're probably the best way to actually learn, and what you'll really experience more so than anything in your first developer's job or working in a larger team, because typically the project is already built. You just have to learn how to fix the issues that's there. So when you hit an error message, don't see it as a sign of failure, see it as a sign of feedback. That error message is literally your computer telling you what's wrong and where to look. Learning to debug is like learning to listen. It's something that you've got to be willing to do. And I know it could be tough for some of us sometimes to take a step back and just listen versus being so willing to respond. And last, you've got to be willing to practice consistently. Coding 1 hour a day beats cramming 8 hours in once a week, any day of the week. Consistency is going to build those patterns, and it's going to help your brain recognize them much faster, so that what you're working on doesn't feel so impossible, but it actually feels like something that you're familiar with and something that you can work through. So the takeaways from this video is this: coding is going to feel harder than what it really is because it's unfamiliar, because you only see the highlight reels online or in class in a professor-led session. Your brain has to realize that, hey, there aren't any shortcuts in this, and although someone is teaching me from a finished product, that's not going to be my actual journey once I put my fingers to the keyboard, if you will. At the core of it, coding is just basically problem solving step by step. The more you practice, the more you struggle, the more you debug, the easier it's going to get. So if you're feeling stuck and you're feeling like coding is hard, just remember it's supposed to be hard in the beginning. That doesn't mean you're bad at it, or you're not capable of doing it. It just means you're in the middle of learning, and you've got to be willing to stick with it and get past these sticking points. So I appreciate you hanging out with me today. I hope this resonated with someone. Let me know in the comments about your early coding journey and some of the sticking points that you had and how you kind of got past those. And if you enjoyed the video, feel free to give me a like, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.